Hello. I'm gonna do a voiceover now. I wanted to make a new deck, new setup. I wanted to make like a cool shape, and this is what I came up with. I was inspired by like a kind of like a funeral shape, like an old school cruiser, but yeah. And it's also a split ply, so that was pretty cool too. And then yeah, I always shape my boards with the belt sander. It just seems to be what works best for me, you know. I don't like the router or anything. Kind of weird. Here I'm just making sure that the shape is exactly how I want it, you know. Just using this piece of sandpaper to make sure it's perfect before I round. Here I'm rounding the edges to make sure everything is nice and smooth and rounded and all. And yeah, I go down from 800, or no, my bad, 80 grit all the way down to 600. Here I'm using a razor blade to take off all the tape because the split plies do require tape around the edges a little more. Go down with some 220, you know, all the way down to 600. So it needs to be really smooth. I think this is like 320, more of the blade. I'm countersinking the bottom of the holes so that it cleans up the holes and then the screws fit in better. Also countersinking the top for the screws. Yeah, sanding the top one more time because it needs to be nice and smooth for the clear coat to go on nice and for it to just feel good. I'm using this poker tool to poke the holes to make sure it's just super smooth. I drew a graphic and this is what it looks like. Turned out pretty sick. And then here I am clear coating it. I always make sure to use 2 times gloss. It always looks the best. I like to go around the sides there, and then I also go on the top. Make sure everything is nice and shiny and durable. That's what it does. Yeah, I always do it in my backyard too, not in the garage. Nice, and it's always smelly. But yeah, I do about like 6 coats on each side. Quite a lot. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. Here's the deck, and I'm going to be taking off the trucks from this setup. They're Tech Deck trucks and Teak Tuning China wheels. Here I'm taking off the grip tape, you know, putting it on. I wanted to do like a X design grip, kind of inspired from the Off-White clothing brand, if you know. It's like a little X in the middle. Thought that would look cool. But yeah, gotta put on 4 pieces, the 2 side triangle pieces. And I always use Sponsor Me tape, but I've used like all kinds of the different grip. I've used V3 and V4. Right now I'm using V4. I'm using the 1mm, not the 0.5, because the 0.5 kind of like, it just wears down really quick and then it's sticky, so you can't really do flip tricks. It'll just stick to your fingers. It's kind of annoying. But now I'm putting on the top pieces of grip. Struggling to unpeel it. That's always a problem. But yeah, I really like how the grip turned out. The little X design was sick. Finally, I get to take it off. Come on. Put it on. Yeah, Sponsor Me tape is a really good grip. If you've never got it, I definitely recommend getting it. It's just my grip of choice. I've always ridden Sponsor Me tape V4. I don't recommend V3. It's not very grippy. And like if it gets slightly wet, like maybe your fingers are sweaty, then it just won't work at all. But the V4 is grippy enough where it'll work all the time. Yeah, I always like putting grip tape on. Super satisfying. Filing everything about it. This is how it looks with it on. And now I'm filing it. This tool is actually an old pencil I have. I just was like, well, it has a file on it, so might as well use it for a fingerboard. I glued a tool onto the front so that I can also use it for the screws. Yeah, it works as a really good file. Grip tape is always super fun to file off if you have a good file. If you don't, then it's always a hassle. But yeah, this was satisfying. And also with the Sponsor Me tape, it's really thick, So if you can cut through it, it feels amazing. I got a pretty straight cut though. It looked good all around. And then gotta peel off the grip after you file it. Put it on the adhesive so that I can use it for non-sliders. For obstacles, you usually want to put something on the bottom so that it doesn't slide. And I use my grip tape scraps. It just makes it that it doesn't slide around when you're doing tricks. Super helpful. Here I'm going with my file, just filing around, making sure everything is nice and clean. Very crucial every time you set up a board because you don't want it to be sticky on the sides. Gets off all that residue of grip tape. Yeah, super clean. Yeah, so I'm using this very small Phillips head to poke the holes. You gotta poke every single hole nice and good because you want your screws to fit in nice. And then I also use a bigger Phillips head screw driver, like attachment thing, to countersink the grip tape. So then the screws fit on super nice. There it is. It's just a tiny bit bigger so that it shouldn't go, that one shouldn't go through the holes. It should just sit on top of it. I'm like going back and forth to make sure it's nice and countersinked and everything. But yeah, it turned out pretty good. So you have to do that on every single hole and make sure it's nice. Then you have to poke through again so that the grip comes back out the other side. This is how the grip job looked at the end. And here I'm screwing on the trucks. That's also always satisfying if the trucks go on nicely. Yeah, and this is how the complete looks. All finished. I love how it looks. Here I got a feeble grind kickflip out. That was really hard, but it worked. Super good. Really nice trick. Here I did switch blunt, switch flip out. That was also a really hard trick. Here I got a nollie flip, which I was stoked on because of the wacky nose. I think this was a nollie tray. Yeah, super good nollie tray. Switch impossible. That was a really good one. Nollie backside flip. And I think this was heel flip. That was a really good heel flip, yeah. Yeah, I'm super stoked on how this board turned out. Some more tricks here. But the setup was great. The making of the deck was great. I think the video turned out great, and hope whoever's watching this liked it. And that's it. Bye.